The events industry has been devastated, just like our friends in retail and restaurant world have been destroyed in 2020. Every big event is canceled, keynotes having to turn into virtual webinars, TV shows created out of this. The event world has been devastated. And today we have a guest that's going to talk about what's next in the events world. Comic-Con and those gigantic events that drive tons of revenue towards industry and towards the cities that they're held in. We're going to talk about all that and more coming up next. This is To The Point. As I said at the beginning, the events industry has been destroyed. Just like our friends in retail and in the food industry, things that we know are gone. And it's not just the events that have been shut down. It is the keynote speakers who don't get that revenue, the people who sponsor it, who show up with booths. They don't get that extra revenue. And the cities that these events are held in. We will talk about Comic-Con today, and you know Comic-Con is not just in San Diego anymore, it's in San Diego, it's across the country. New York has one of the largest Comic-Cons other than San Diego in the planet. Everywhere we go, we have just devastating news and how this industry will recover. The entertainment industry has taken it on the chin. We all depend on it. In fact, since COVID started, we all talk about what we're watching on Hulu, Netflix, HBO, HBO Max, Cinemax, Stars. If I missed you, I still love you. All of this has been affected, and we recently had the movie release. We saw DC do some releases on their upcoming movies and reboots. So here to talk to us today, we have an amazing guest to give us some insight on what's next with the event world. So let's get to the point with today's amazing guest. Welcome to the show, Michael. How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's another day in paradise here in Fort Lauderdale.
There you go. See, good old Florida. You guys haven't been in the news at all. You're not.
No. We're a sleepy state. Nobody pays attention to us.
Okay, that's what we're gonna go with. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. It's a sleepy state. Yeah, Florida. That's what I think of. And I'm a original Florida kid. So it's funny that we do that. So you have a background, obviously behind you. You're obviously in the wonderful comic and cosplay world, but your company is based on these big events that take place throughout the country. Comic-Con being probably, would you say Comic-Con's the biggest, or?
Comic-Con is the biggest in my industry, but for my company, it's my year. Okay. You know, there's in fashion, you have Fashion Week in Paris is the year. Mm-hmm. In sports, you have the Super Bowl, you have the World Series. For us, it's Comic-Con, mm-hmm. and you make your money at Comic-Con for the year.
And it's crazy. And Comic-Con obviously was canceled this year, all Comic-Cons across the country. So that had to be more than just a slap in your face. If that's your entire year, I mean, and I'm judging this, and I'll be naive here to be brutally honest, Mike. Sure. My world, I know of Comic-Con by attending and being a fan of Comic-Con, and you guys always announce fun stuff at Comic-Con. But I could pair Comic-Con to Dreamforce by Salesforce, a huge event that takes up
nothing like it.
4 days in San Francisco. But you know, folks who come there and rent booths and everything, that's where they make their year, is being at Dreamforce. I mean, obviously right. Comic-Con's bigger because there's way more money thrown at it, but I mean, Dreamforce is, you know.
The difference with Comic-Con and Dreamforce, and I'm familiar with it, is that Dreamforce is trade, for the most part. We're consumer. Yeah. So you have to entertain the people when they're there. You guys go to Dreamforce, I mean, there's entertainment, right? But it's more about making connections. Every time you walk out of your hotel, you are on. You are on stage. Even if you're walking to the convention center, you are on. Especially if you're an agency like mine, where we don't just design and build the sets, but we also host it and run it. So they know us. So we could be in the elevator after an 18-hour day, sweating our butt off, and the fans are like, "Hey, so I didn't get a poster today. Do you have any posters in your backpack?" So you never get a break. You know, you don't get that at any other show. It's really San Diego, New York Comic Con.
So you have these two events. So what does your business do when you can't have? I mean, is there a way to do this virtually? I mean, it blows me away. I totally understand why it was canceled. I totally get that. But there's a large part of me that's like, you know, people are able to go to church and do other stuff. You know, for most of us, this kind of world it's a once a year event. It's your Super Bowl. You said it best. How does a brand like yours? I mean, and you're not alone. Folks who hold events. I keep telling people, and I said this before you came on air. People don't think about the blowback, the ripple effect that it's not just Comic-Con and you don't get to hear what Disney's going to put out or what, you know, I'm picking on The Walking Dead because it feels like the last like 10 years at Comic-Con they were doing another season, which is weird for the graphic novel didn't go as far as they took the show, but that's just for geek knowledge on my own. But how does it affect businesses like yours? You're probably not alone, but it has to hit you in the pocketbook pretty hard not having these events in person.
Well, I mean, the reason I did a big exhale is because there is nothing else like this. So, you know, the recession back in, you know, 08, 09 really affected everybody as well. This pales into comparison. I mean, that pales in comparison to this. We had the rug pulled out underneath us. So for me, I was at a show called C2E2, which is like an 80,000 person show normally, February 28th, 29th, and March 1st. Unfortunately, it had like maybe 70,000 people this year. So it was like a smaller, you know, amount of people. People weren't spending money because COVID was just about to happen. I left on a transatlantic cruise March 1st to go to Spain. And while I was on that cruise, the entire rug was pulled out from under our industry. I mean, I went on with quite a few $1 million worth of business in the books for this year. And I got off in Spain 18 days later going, my entire world is shattered. What do? You can't fault anybody for not doing an event. It's not right. If you've been to Comic-Con, you know that it's barely able to walk. It's like being in a squeezed elevator or a New York City subway car. You can't walk in the aisles. It can take you 45 minutes to get to the bathroom. So you really can't socially distance. The mask thing I don't think would be an issue because people wear crazy costumes and masks I think would be very easy for us to wear. The face shields that they're wearing now would be very easy. It's the social distancing and the tactile part. They don't have it down yet. We don't know, and there's conflicting information. So it really destroyed us. The worst thing is there is no way to do an event safely right now. There just isn't. I think we're getting better. It's August 26th today. I think we're getting better. I think we'll be fine by December to start planning for next year. But there is no way right now to do an event where the brand the company that's putting the event on and the brands that come to it, the exhibitors that come to it, will feel that they won't be held liable.
Awesome. So Mike, let's pause for a second because I want to kind of give people an idea of how you got started in the industry. You know, I wanted to keep up to date because obviously the number one thing is like, oh my God, this industry has been devastated. And it doesn't get the same attention as retail and the food industry. I mean, retail was already on the decline before COVID hit. We all know that malls were kind of this thing of the past. And, you know, they were great in the 80s and the 90s, but have since, you know, you can buy it online. But your industry is different. It's huge. People, I mean, just to get in that line to get a ticket to Comic-Con is something that starts so far out. I remember when I get the email, I get always excited every year to go get into the process of being picked in the lottery. Thank God for media. Sometimes I just get around that and not have to worry about it. But that's how you get around it. You have friends that work there, and you just get
people.
You just know people. But I mean, what got you into this industry? It's kind of jumping the. I'm not going to have a mouth stroke, I promise. Let's get in the DeLorean. Blah, I can say it. I was trying to be cute and funny here and use as much as I can for pop culture in my. I always pick on Back to the Future. I love that movie. I don't know why I love it, but I always talk about.
Let's hit 88 miles an hour.
Let's do it. And let's hop in our DeLorean. You could be Doc Brown. I could be Michael J. Fox, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. And let's hop in.
I have the hair of Doc Brown.
Yeah.
So we'll go back in time then.
Okay.
So we'll set the date back. So I started in New York in advertising the same way most people in our industry did. I'm a Manhattan guy who worked and pounded the streets in New York. After 9/11, which I was caught in, I decided that I didn't want to do that whole rapid climb up. So I started a business with two guys. A year into it, I punched one of them and said, not really interested in working with you anymore. And went home, went to my parents' house for dinner and said, hey, I think I'm going to start a business and can you guys feed me for a year? And I was, 30 years old, I think. And I had no clients, no computer, non-competes with every former client, so I couldn't go to them. And I literally, thankfully, was a personal trainer and a massage therapist and was able to feed myself on that and my mom's cooking. And then finally, we just slowly started getting business. And I thought I was going to go into luxury. So I was doing like Bentleys and Godiva, and like high luxury brand and Saks Fifth Avenue and stuff. And I went on this really, really, really bad date, like a horrible date. And in the middle of the date, I feigned having diarrhea because it was so bad. Like I was like, my stomach is exploding. I got to go. And the date was that bad. And a couple months later, I got a call from that person saying, hey, I know you were lying about the date, but I remember what you said you wanted to do for a living, that you do events, and I work at a video game company. Would you be okay with coming in to talk to me about doing a video game event? So I came in, that was 2K video games, and I went in and did some events for them for a couple of their video games, and one of them happened to be Rise of the Silver Surfer, which was the X-Men second movie video game. And I was at New York Comic Con setting it up. And I had already made a name for myself in Comic-Con from doing events there since like 99. And I was at New York Comic-Con setting it up, and this guy comes over and he goes, oh, we have a great booth. This is a beautiful booth. This is wonderful. And I'm like, who are you? He's like, I'm Marvel. I'm like, well, that booth over there that you rented out of a book, that's yours. This is 2K. And he's like, well, who are you? I'm like, I'm the guy who designed it, built it, and I'm going to run it. And he was like, here's my card. Give me yours. And a couple months later, I got a call. I was on a plane. They were about to shut the door. And I was going to Florida for vacation. And I got a phone call. And it was somebody who worked for him saying, hey, if you want to do San Diego Comic Con for us this year, we want you, but I need you here now. And I got off the plane before they shut the door and went into New York and signed the deal. And I've been with Marvel ever since. They're my main client. So it was fortuitous because they're the Marvel is by far the absolute best client you could absolutely possibly ever ask for as a client. They're frustrating in some ways, but they are innovative and really make you feel like a part of the team. So, and then from that, I mean, I got other clients. I work with Boom Studios. I work with multiple video game companies. I part own a jewelry company that focuses on some all comic book jewelry called What's Your Passion. We do so much in this industry, and I've made a great name for myself, and I'm proud of that.
That's awesome, and that's exciting. I mean, 2K, I know my brain went, oh, NBA 2K. I like 2K.
So right, we worked on the other side. We worked on like the first-person shooter game. So I worked on like BioShock and The Darkness and stuff like that. So I always wanted to get onto like NBA and everything else, but it's two separate sides, and I stayed where they wanted to pay me.
And as we're talking, today is a huge game day release for Call of Duty, of course. That kind of, they broke, well, I think they were trying to break the internet, and the NBA said, hold my beer, and we'll be right back.
Well, yeah, so the NBA is kind of always going to, with what they did today was brilliant. I support the NBA for what they did. But Call of Duty, I think, is going to be amazing. Their announcement and release is going to be fantastic. I was very lucky to work at PAX, which is like the video game version of Comic-Cons. I worked at PAX. I still do that. Still do games for them, and I worked there. God, I think since 2007. And the video game arena is fantastic. If you go there, if you haven't been to PAX, I highly recommend you go, because it's the closest thing you're going to get to E3 or Gamescom in Germany. Yeah. And it is just, it's pitch black, and there's just video screens everywhere, and it's every game you could possibly think of, hands-on. It's you're in the saddle shooting and enjoying it.
It's amazing. I mean, the gaming industry and the comic book spot, to me, is the hottest industry around, because I have a lot of friends that are actually on the cover of Call of Duty Warzone, from Jade to Rudy Reyes. They're all on there, so it's kind of funny to see folks that you talk to in normal life are in these games. and to see how these games have been accepted. And I know we're supposed to be talking about the comic books and event world, but
yeah, let's get back to that. No, just kidding.
we will, trust me, we got plenty of time. But I like, I'm amazed by the stats of this, because if you look during the beginning of COVID, Call of Duty came out, Warzone. It was a free drop first, and over 65 million people downloaded it in the first 20 days it was out. And
during COVID, your video games were the #1 form of entertainment.
Still
there were two
are,
things
yeah.
that went up. It was video games and pornography.
Yeah.
So those are the two things, because when you're trapped at home and you're under lockdown, especially if you're single, what can you do? So people who never played video games before were playing video games. Everybody was on stream, trying to get this down, off of Steam and streaming everything, and they're using their every single game console possible saw a huge increase in sales. It's fantastic. I mean, bravo for the video game industry. I'm happy for my clients.
It's been a crazy industry for sure. I mean, just the whole COVID, but for you guys in events, it's crazy, because you sit here and you watch, and just over the weekend we had DC FanDome, right? Which released, dropped a couple trailers, which is great because we needed something new. A lot of us have watched.
Big Mike dropped those trailers. Some of those trailers were awesome.
They did. I mean, the Wonder Woman one, we're all been waiting for it, right? Wonder Woman, I mean, we saw the cult hit that Wonder Woman was when it came out, and it was funny. I still remember how people took that review of it and were just like, oh, we're shocked it was good. And I was like, look at this cast, look how it's done.
Look at the director.
Yeah, the director.
Look at the writer.
Exactly.
Alan Heinberg, the writer, he wrote Grey's Anatomy. He also wrote a run of Wonder Woman. Yep. So he knows the character. And Patty Jenkins, was going to direct Thor originally, the first Thor.
Oh,
and she ended up, creative differences, she left, and then we got Kenneth Branagh, who I love and drove me nuts. But I mean, you got a cast that you couldn't. People were like, oh, Gal Gadot doesn't have the build for it, or she's not busty enough. And look at Linda Carter. There is nobody a bigger Linda Carter fan than me. I am a Wonder Woman freak. I've been drawn into the comic book 6 times. I have a Wonder Woman tattoo. I've got Wonder Woman right behind me. I mean, like, I am a Wonder Woman freak. And when I tell you, Gal Gadot reinvented that character, and that is not a slight to Linda at all. Linda's our goddess, and we all love her. But you got Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, and and if you don't know who Etta Candy is, Etta was Chris's assistant, his secretary in the first movie. In the comic book, she's Wonder Woman's best friend. She's kind of a sorority girl, and she always loves candy, and she's always eating. And to see Etta Candy brought to life was fantastic. And then it's a war movie, so it's got something. If you like something shoot 'em up, and it's a World War I period piece. Fantastic.
Yeah, and it was great because they dropped that movie, and a lot of people, I'm a history buff and a comic book fiend, so kind of watching that piece going, look, they dropped this out. It dropped, I believe, the year before the celebration of the armistice in World War I, which is just plain amazing, as World War I has become so, the millennials and Gen Zs are like, cool, wow, World War I happened. It's not just Pearl Harbor movies and Ben Affleck. I'm like, no, there's other movies. But Wonder Woman is fantastic. Now, let's pick on DC while we're here, because Wonder Woman is a home run. I can't ever say the Superman movies back in my day growing up with Christopher Reeves were bad, because those were good as a kid, because that's all we could do. I mean, they were as good as they could have been in the early,
It's 1977.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It's Christopher Reeves. Who doesn't like that man? But you look at... I mean, Aquaman was good. Let's just face it, it's good. Everybody loves Jason Momoa. And then everything else you kind of shake your head. You look at the Justice League, and you're like,
Don't look at the Justice League. Don't look at it. Here's what you got to do.
It's horrible.
Just don't look at it. First off, don't even look at the theatrical cut of Batman vs. Superman. You got to watch the extended cut. It's 3 hours. So it adds an extra hour of context to it. If you watch that, and you watch Man of Steel, and you watch Wonder Woman, and you watch Aquaman, and now we got the Snyder Cut coming. Have you seen the trailer for it?
Oh, the Snyder Cut is amazing.
It's amazing.
I wanted to watch it. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I'll watch that, because that makes it like, I like that. I could go with that.
Somebody sent it to me 5 minutes before the Wonder Woman trailer came out. And I was watching. I was like, I'm blown away. I don't know what to do. And then the Wonder Woman trailer hit. And I was watching it live, and I literally, as a fan, I'm just like, I was chills everywhere from it. Because the Snyder Cut looks amazing. It's a completely, utterly different movie, different plot, everything. I do think they stole one aspect from Marvel, though. So Steppenwolf, the lead villain in Justice League, he looks like shit. I mean, pardon my French, but he looked like shit in the movie. And in Thor, if you remember, we had the Destroyer, and the Destroyer, his armor kind of looks like metal that kind of just keeps rotating.
Yeah.
They did that to Steppenwolf, and I'm like, I've seen that effect before. I know where that's from. But I think that the Snyder Cut can't get here soon enough for me. Yeah. Now, I know you have strong opinions on the Batman.
And I say this saying I love Batman. Batman is, if I'm going to pick a DC person, besides Wonder Woman, I always thought Wonder Woman was, I grew up with Wonder Woman, the OG. And Gal Gadot does, trust me, she's a great Wonder Woman. She's great to look at, and she's a badass. And to look at her as serving in the Israeli military and just knowing that she's not just playing a badass, she is a badass.
She is a badass.
Like, you're just like, that's my girl. Like, I was proud. It's awesome to watch my daughters watch that and get excited and just be fired up for them to have a comic book hero. And they actually beat Marvel to the punch. I mean, yes, you do have a couple Avengers there, but Captain Marvel didn't come out until well after, Wonder Woman came out. Not comic book wise, movie wise. Let's just be.
No, Captain Marvel came out after Wonder Woman anyway.
Yeah, so it's
in the comic book.
Yeah, even in both worlds. I just wanted to be sure. I didn't.
Captain Marvel was a man.
Yeah.
Originally.
And then they made, Brie Larson awesome. Great movie. It's good that both comic book companies are putting this push on strong female characters.
You can't have enough women comic book characters being made into TV series and movies.
Yep.
You need more of that. You also need more of the diversity of Asians, which Marvel has a new Asian superhero movie coming out. You need the Asians, you need blacks, you need Latinos, Latinas. You need that diversity. I think that's really where we're going to. DC has made it a thing right now. Marvel's been doing it for years, so DC's, I feel, is like catching up to us. And Boom Studios is doing it. Dark Horse is doing it. So the diversity is there. But you're right. We had, Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, a great character, but she's an assassin.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some parents didn't want their little girls thinking that was a role model. Yeah. But she's a great character, and wait till you see this movie. It's fantastic.
I can't wait because I just think, the role models are different. You have Scarlett Johansson doing that, and then you kind of look how Deadpool has brought in his kind of sidekicks, his entourage. And I love the way he's done it. Again, Deadpool is that movie. I don't know what you call Deadpool. Like, to me, it's in the Marvel universe, so it is a Marvel. I get that. But
it wasn't. It is now.
It is now, yeah. But I mean, you look at it and you're kind of like, it's this. I mean, Ryan Reynolds is always tongue-in-cheek anyways, but his constant, I love the way he picks on the X-Men because he can only get 2 of them. I mean, it's a constant comment about it, which is funny because I'm a huge Wolverine fan, so his constant, harping on Wolverine and Hugh Jackman is worth every bit of probably going just to see what he'll say. But I mean, it gets better and better, and you watch it, and yeah, it's not as visually as, say, Avengers is, right? Which is just.
It didn't need to be.
It didn't. It's simple, right? Which. So
it was a great.
Are we ever going to get a Deadpool? Here's my question: do you think we're ever going to get a Deadpool that Wolverine's in?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I think so. I don't think it'll be Hugh Jackman.
Oh.
I think he's done. As far as I know, he's done. But I'm not privy to everything. But I believe, as far as I know, from what I've read and heard, he's done. But. The thing about Ryan Reynolds, because I'm a huge Ryan fan, right? Yeah. Back to Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. Yep. So I go way back, He played Deadpool before, and it was a horrible version of Deadpool, right? In the Wolverine. And then he also played Green Lantern, which is horrific, right? And I know he's questioning, and he's verbalized that he'd like to be Green Lantern again in the Snyderverse. So to me, he's the comeback kid. Put him in something crappy, and then he'll come back and show you how great it is. When he had creative control, which he did on this last movie, a lot of creative input with Deadpool, he was able to come back and be like, no, this is what it should be. I'm friends with one of the artists for Deadpool, at Riley Brown, who's a fantastic artist. If you don't know him, please look him up and check him out. He's fantastic. He's been a published artist for Deadpool for many years. And to see his Deadpool come to life is just, I mean, and you look at Rob Liefeld, who created it, and you can hear Rob's words coming out of Ryan's mouth. So, fantastic.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job. So let's go back to what you kind of teased that I was going to pick on Batman. So I love Batman. But I've been struggling. I mean, I didn't mind Ben Affleck as my wife calls him, Fat Batman. I liked him as Batman. He's a good. I mean, Ben got in good shape for that Gone Baby Gone movie. He got ripped, and then kind of between filming that and Batman, the dude got jacked. So he made a good Batman. Much better than Clooney. Way better than Val Kilmer. I mean, those two kind
Anybody
of...
who's better than those two.
I mean, it's not hard, right? It's like those two are those were Batmans. And then you
Yeah.
go back, Michael Keaton's kind of the vanilla Batman. And of course, to me, Christian Bale, just the ultimate badass Batman, because the villains he dealt with, how dark he was, taking it, of course, Nolan will always take us to the darkest realm that we can get, and you're just like, am I watching a Batman, or what am I watching? And then they bring the kid from, I know his name, but I love picking on him. The kid from Twilight becomes Batman.
Sparkly vampire Batman.
Yes, and I'm like, and then you hear the kids, and I have 2 teenagers in my house, so of course the peanut gallery comes in with me, and they're like, why is he, like, when I told my daughter that was Batman months ago when they announced it, she was like, really? Nobody's going to be intimidated of him. What's he going to do? Stare at them? Look into my eyes?
So, well, yes, probably. I'm a massive Batman fan, right? I cosplay Batman.
Yeah.
I do Batman Begins version. And let me just put this out there. Back in the 80s, nobody wanted Michael Keaton as Batman. They were like, Mr. Mom can't be Batman. Okay. When we had Christian Bale announced as Batman, nobody wanted Christian Bale as Batman because they're like, oh, you can't have the preppy, serial killer guy being Batman. Then when they announced Ben Affleck, his agent actually told him not to go on the internet because of how bad the reviews were the day they announced it, saying don't go on the internet. And nobody wanted him. Then you're looking and going, they all turned out really well. So, and if Ben Affleck is fat Batman, I want to be fat because I was jacked in that movie. He's a great guy. He's really, really funny. He went through a rough time. So I'm sure that affected, he was going through a divorce and he had some substance issues, and I'm sure that affected him. But, look, I will always support Ben as Batman. But this movie, The Batman by Matt Reeves, I think has a chance to prove everybody wrong about Robert Pattinson, because if you only know him from Twilight and you haven't watched like Water for Elephants or any of the other movies that he's been in where he is just fantastic and he shows his acting chops, then I'm not talking about Harry Potter, of course, but then you're missing out because he's a very terrific actor. Now, I will say this. There are many reports that say he does not wear deodorant and he doesn't bathe. So I would not want to be around him when he comes out of that bat suit because that thing is sweaty. So who knows? But I'm all in. I believe in supporting anybody who is cast in the movie. I believe in supporting them because until I see the movie, I'm not the casting director. So it's not up to me, and I'm not the regular director. So it's not up to me to say they shouldn't be in the part. I mean, look at Charlize Theron. Yeah. Did you watch The Old Guard?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah,
I would never think Charlize would be good in that.
No, when I started it, I went in. I call it my ridicule Netflix movie, where I start where I know I have Twitter in my hand and snarky comments will be going. I will be live tweeting as I watch this because it's gonna be bad. And instead, my phone didn't go off. It got put down, and I was like, okay, girl, you crushed this. It was very well done. I mean, not shocked. It's Netflix, and Netflix seems to. I don't know how big of a fan you are. I don't know if you. Sorry, I have a puppy who's literally going nuts next to me. Because he's like, it's time to go, Dad. But if you read the comic books, the character in the comic book is not. It's very similar, but it's not. I would not have pictured Charlize in it, and she's fantastic. I think that we have to, as fans, now I'm in the industry, right? Yeah. So it's a little different, but as fans, we need to support whoever is cast, because if those movies don't do well, I don't pay my mortgage because those movies have to do well. And if those movies do well, we do events around them, we get comic books around them, we get video games around them, and that's how I get my mortgage paid. So I will always support people. Now that said, I don't have a lot of hope for New Mutants, which is supposed to come out soon. I'm not holding my breath for that. It can't be worse than The Phoenix that just was out last year, because that was horrific. But we'll see. That was, it is heartbreaking to watch X-Men movies kind of not be what we grew up on and watch, just Wolverine's always Wolverine, and they built such a good story. Before you go, I do want to cover.
Oh no, I have time. Good. Just
want to make sure.
When you're working from home, it's like having kids.
Yes.
Your dogs just want to,
play,
be around you.
Of course, mine's the same way. He's looking at me through the office window because he just comes in here and knocks cords over. He's an old golden.
I'm just petting him below the table. Don't mind me.
That's all. It's cool. It looks normal.
I think your viewers will relate to it.
They will. Everybody has dogs. If you don't have a dog, get a dog. But as long as you can afford your dog. But we look at Marvel. Let's talk about Marvel because obviously Avengers was just phenomenal. I'm a huge Black Panther fan. I could put Black Panther on at all times and geek out on that. I think that is a fabulous movie that Marvel did. Knocked it out of the ballpark, really crossed a lot of lines. And you're right. Again, we go back to what critics say, and then you go sit down and watch it. Remember, people trashed Black Panther before it came out. Oh, Marvel's stretching. They're just doing it for this and that. That movie hit theaters, and I remember every person I know walking out of that theater that is a friend of mine going, dude, you can't get to the theaters fast enough to watch this film. They knocked it out of the ballpark.
I've been lucky to work with some of the cast, which is great, and the directors. One of my employees actually worked on the film. She was the production coordinator, production set coordinator, dealing with all the props and scenes. So I have a lot of knowledge about that movie. Letitia Wright, who plays the sister, amazing actress. Winston Duke, who played M'Baku, fantastic. Black Panther himself,
amazing,
did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say that. Yeah. Did a great job. He did a great job. But you had this great supporting cast. You can't not have Black Panther be lifted up when you've got Michael B. Jordan and you've got, Angela Bassett and all these amazing, again, what we need in this industry, actors of color to be out there and do this. And in a situation that felt right, not like we're just putting the token minority in here.
Yeah.
This was a whole world that they were in, and it was fantastic. But you and I were talking off camera about this. We were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah, love that.
Would you ever have thought a talking tree that can only say one line and a machine gun toting science experiment that looks like a raccoon would be able to be two of the lead characters in a movie? I mean, you would never think it, right?
Yeah, but they're amazing.
It's amazing. It's when we were told we were going to do that movie, I was like, I mean, I know the comic book, it's a little obscure, but I know it. And Star-Lord is great. And, Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec, like the fat dude.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. But look at what the fans did to it. It elevated it. The fans brought that and said, we need more. And in fact, we need James Gunn back for volume 3. I'm friends with Sean Gunn, his brother, who was in the movie, and he actually did the mocap for Groot. Not for Groot, for Rocket. The behind the scenes stories are fantastic in that. And when you look at those movies and what Marvel has been able to put out, as well as the TV shows, the Netflix series and the Fox series and the FX series that they've done, and now what we're doing on Disney Plus, when you start to see what is going to start coming out on that, it's this universe that we didn't have as kids. Now, I'll be 48 in 2 weeks, which sucks, but I'll be 48. I grew up with Wonder Woman, Batman and Robin reruns, The Bionic Woman, $6 Million Man, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, Shazam, Isis. And it sounds like a lot, but that's over a 10-year period that I had that. Yeah. We have this on demand now. Whatever you want to watch, 22 movies by Marvel, 8 movies by DC right now, plus all the old movies by Marvel and DC. You've got all of that. And it's, I remember writing a deck to present to a potential client. And I put in there that, at that point, and this was back in 2009, 16% of Americans identify as geek. That number's, and it doesn't even matter anymore. 100% of Americans identify as geek because you know how we know? Billion-dollar movies. There are no other billion-dollar movies except for Titanic or Avatar. There are no other billion-dollar plus movies, and those are the superhero geek movies. That means that people are overwhelmingly watching this. Your mother-in-law went to go see Deadpool, right? My parents are like, we're driving 30 minutes to the big IMAX to go see Wonder Woman. I'm like, that's amazing to me. When I owned a comic convention, you talk about events, right? And I owned my own event, my own Comic-Con in Atlantic City, which don't do a show in Atlantic City. But I did it in Atlantic City. And when it opened, the minute it opened, my mother was there. And she started crying. And I'm like, what's wrong? Well, I'm the one with $1 million on the line. What's wrong? And she goes, I used to punish you for taking a hefty bag and cutting triangles out of the bottom of it and tying it around your neck and jumping off the second story of the house because you thought you were Batman. And now you're employing people as Batman. And when I met Linda and I met Lindsay Wagner, Linda Carter and Lindsay Wagner, Wonder Woman and Bionic Woman, when I met them and Lee Majors, I was crying. I had tears in my eyes because I said, I owe my entire livelihood to you guys. What you did in the 70s and early 80s is fantastic, but it's nothing comparatively to what we are able to put out and how it resonates with everybody. So I'm very blessed to be a part of that. Now, I'd like to be working. Yeah. I'd like to be going to work. My employees would like to not be furloughed right now. My friends in this industry who are mom and pops would like to go to work. And unfortunately, we can't. We need people wearing masks. We need people getting this, virus down. But I do believe that the industry is going to come back. I believe it'll come back. We'll probably start planning in December for next year. I do believe that we will probably see the first major show probably in February or March. And I do think that we will have a Comic-Con next year. The shows that are done at home, like or online streaming shows like Comic-Con at Home, which they did that in July. My jewelry company, we did some business with it, but and people were able to show things here and there. And what DC FanDome just did, and New York Comic Con ReedPop is going to put something on at home, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. It's not the same experience because you need to be there in person. From my standpoint, I'm not designing and building sets. I'm not dealing with the union workers. And this, I think, is important for people to understand. It's not just the brands that aren't there. It's the agencies like me. It's the printers who print it. It's the union people and the Teamsters who work behind the scenes because almost every single hall is a union hall. It's all the hotels. It's all the airlines. It's all the mom and pop restaurants. All of that is affected. When we come to Comic-Con in San Diego, we bring 475,000 people to that city in a week, and it's $162 million that go into that city in a year from our convention. Same thing at New York, slightly smaller, but similar at New York. And then all these mom and pop conventions. Now, some are still happening. There are some that are happening, like 2,000 person conventions and stuff. And God bless them. I hope that they're successful. But I mean, I owned a Comic-Con cruise. So I owned something where we chartered the entire cruise ship on Royal Caribbean, changed everything on the cruise out to be fan to see. And it was 2,400 people on this cruise. We had Guardians of the Galaxy and Walking Dead and all these artists and creators and writers and all fans. And it was phenomenal. Somebody at Marvel, a very high up person there who came on the cruise, said it was the best convention he's ever been to at sea, 5 days at sea. Because you're walking around. Michael Rooker, from Walking Dead, is walking around, and Guardians of the Galaxy, Yondu, walking around with his breakfast tray and his fuzzy, pajamas, going, "Who can I sit with?" And just looking to sit next to somebody because you're sitting next to a movie star who just wants to hang out with you, or the cast of Stranger Things just wants to go sit in the pool with you and hang out. It was a different experience. We can't do those things right now. Yeah. And if I were still putting that on, and that was meant to be like one every 5-year thing. But if I was still playing that, I'd be out millions of dollars. These events are not cheap to put on. These events cost literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. And those are the small mom and pops. My Atlantic City event was over $1.5 million in 2015. My cruise was $1.5 million. These are not cheap. So when we don't get a chance to work, it's heartbreaking. There's no way around it. I think I was telling you, I'm renovating a house right now, which I purchased before COVID happened. So I would never have purchased it had I known I was going to go a year without business. And I'm living in an apartment building right now while I'm doing the renovations. And what's sad to me is when I go to walk my dogs, in April and May, everybody was working from home, right? So I would see a lot of people. But now people are back to work in Florida. And I'm walking my dogs during the day and I see nobody. And I'm talking like 1,000 apartment complex. And that hurts because I'm not working now. But the rest of the world goes back, but people don't pay attention to our event industry. They don't understand the caterers and the food prep and the shipping and the trucks and the logistics and the warehouses. Nobody understands how much money. If I don't have an event to go to, my warehouse doesn't get paid, my trucks don't get paid, the union people don't get paid, the printers don't get paid, the fabricators don't get paid, the carpet people don't get paid, I don't get paid, my employees don't get paid. It's rough. So we sit there and go, we want to go back to work, but we are kind of forgotten right now. Everyone's focused on the restaurants or focused on sports, and it's rough. But we are a very resilient company. Our friends in the industry are very resilient. And I think that the great thing we've been doing, I personally have been doing, is speaking to everybody I possibly can in the industry. And I've been offering free marketing advice because I'm a marketing agency, right? So I've been offering free marketing advice to anybody in the comic book or pop culture event industry. Call me up and I'll give you free ideas. You want to hire me for something, great. I will listen to your ideas, help you do it, because they can't afford to figure out how to successfully keep going in this industry. And if it happens, if it rolls till next year where there's no Comic-Con industry, I mean, it's $1 billion loss. So it's rough.
So,
but positively, I think we're coming back.
Okay, good. That was my next question. I have two. One, what can we do to help? Like, I know a lot of us, we want to do whatever we can to help because it's an industry that we love. I mean, comic book fans, you said it, you hit the nose in the head. It's like a little geeky world that we all live in and love. I mean, and Disney Plus, I think, really brought that to the forefront. I see DC is involved with HBO Max. Maybe DC can teach them what a real logo looks like because they created a really fugly one. But come on, DC Max, that HBO Max thing is ugly looking. Like, I was like, were you just like, hey, we should use purple and throw freaking ugly letters out there?
I am confident with Jim Lee, who survived the massacre at DC, with Jim Lee involved, I think you'll get a better logo.
Good.
So I'm confident with that. The man is super talented.
Yeah. But I mean, how do we help? I mean, how do we as fans help the industry?
It's going to sound trite. Wear a damn mask. Wear your mask and social distance. You know, I just called my brother a jackass this week because his daughter had her 17th birthday party and he had family members there. And I'm like, the number one way this is transmitting is through small social family gatherings. Stop doing small social gatherings. I can't get back to work until people stop being dumbasses. Now, that's the normal one, right? Yeah. Wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask, wash your hands. How do we do this? Go online during Comic-Con at home, like San Diego, or at whatever New York is going to call it. I don't know what they're going to call it yet. But log in, buy from the vendors. Go to, like, my jewelry company. It's comicbookjewelry.com. Go there, buy from the, I'm just using mine because I know the URL offhand. You don't have to go to me and buy it, but we do have, really cool stuff, all licensed stuff. But go to these small moms and pops, that are selling, and you want to be able to go and support them. Buy some comics. Go to your local comic book shop. And I was driving around today and I had to go to the store and I saw a comic book shop that I didn't even know. I walked in, I just went in and bought like $40, not a lot, but $40 worth of comic books. I can get them on Comixology, but Comixology is owned by Amazon. That's not going to support your local comic shop. Go in and buy your local comic shop, some books there. Get your kids, if they've never read a comic, have them start reading comics. Do it as part of your home learning. But support the small vendors. That's the most important thing. And if you don't know how, you can email me at miked@promo360group.com. I will tell you who to buy from or where to look at to see if you like it. But support those people. That's how the industry stays survive. I'll survive. I'm lucky. I mean, I've been in business 18 years. I have a savings. I've been paying my employees as long as I could. Now they're on furlough and I'm paying their medical insurances and stuff to keep them like that. But not everybody was smart or able to have a savings. I'm lucky, I say go support the people who need you. There's artists like Chris Campana, who is a New Jersey artist. He lost his wife and son in childbirth last year, and he did this amazing book called The Adventures of Parker Reef. It just got nominated for awards today for penciling. To me, go look up Chris Campana and buy the book. Go support people. That's how we need you. Because without your support, the artists, the writers, the merchants have to go find something else for a way to put food on the table and pay their rent. And if they go someplace else, they're not going to be able to come back to this. And that's the problem. So we need your support.
Yeah, well, everybody knows to do that. We're going to have links to your website in here. So everybody could go there because that's where we want our fans to go. So if you're watching on C-Suite Network or on our socials, please just go into the notes. You'll see it, click it, go buy it. It's worth it. You need to do it. Mike, before you go, I'm going to kiddingly ask, maybe you'll know the answer. You were listing all these great shows because our age isn't that different. And you left off Buck Rogers, which was one that...
For a reason.
Okay, well, you shouldn't leave it off. I love that show. I grew up on it.
No, I love Buck Rogers. It was really campy.
It was.
Really
Do you think they'll ever try to release something of it? I mean, it kind of...
I don't know. I loved Aaron Gray on it, though. And Aaron Gray's a major agent now in our industry. Still absolutely beautiful and super sweet. But I mean, I love Buck Rogers. You know what's funny? I was watching Space 1999 last night for the first time since like the 70s.
Yeah.
Man, is it bad.
Yeah.
Man, is it bad. Some of that stuff we put out in the 70s, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl, man, that was bad. Shazam, horrible. The original Spider-Man TV show, do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so
Horrible.
bad. But I loved it when I was 8 years old, you know?
We did.
So.
I mean, we used to think the Transformer cartoon was good too. And what is it? Who was the other one? What was the knockoff cartoon for the Transformers? I can't remember their name right now.
Are you talking about Voltron?
No, not Voltron. It was like knockoff of Transformers.
I don't know. I watched Transformers.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I grew up on. Then I wish they would. Then they should have stopped after Shia LaBeouf left the show, because then they brought Mark Wahlberg in and took away Megan Fox, which made most people watch the movie. And then they started bringing dinosaurs into it, and I was like,
well, we have the Dinobots.
well, we did, so we need to make sure we plug those into the movie, because it wouldn't be.
You know, if you ever want to sit down and do another show about all this geekdom and celebrities,
yeah,
I'll be happy to do it.
We'll have you back for sure, because I'm geeking out right now. Your industry, I know we shouldn't be kidding around, but seriously, it's good. What I take out of this is that you see light at the end of the tunnel, which is better than a few weeks ago when we chatted with Ming and Josh. And, we're looking, it's hard. I mean, obviously, looking in June to August, we're seeing that there's a good shot. I just want the industry back. It's something that I know is key. The event industry in general, you guys do take it right in the face, and nobody thinks about. You're not a restaurant, you're not retail, you're not open every day. You have these events. I mean, it's like the folks who own the stadiums. I mean, people are like, oh, it's no big deal. I'm like, it's huge. And trust me,
it's a huge deal.
Yeah, as a season ticket holder for a team, and I'll leave you with this. This weekend, we are Portland Trailblazer season ticket holders, and very proud of that. We love our team. And they gave out playoff t-shirts. Why they couldn't mail them to us, we don't know, but it was whatever. So I hopped in my truck with my son, and we drove there. And literally, I became an emotional. We were both crying in the car, driving through the parking garage to stop with our windows back, with the cheerleaders throwing stuff for season ticket holders in there. And we're emotional and they're emotional, because they see the tears in your eyes as you're just like, we're supposed to be parking and going in and watching these games. And instead, we're not. And why? And it goes back, and you hit the nail on the head. Wear your damn mask. And it pisses me off, because I love going to these events. I look forward to Comic-Con. I love concerts. I go to them and I love them. And I love sporting events. There is nothing better than a sporting event, because I get to, number one, I know those people that are working these events. This is how they make money. And now they're out all this.
We're not making money.
They're not making anything.
My husband is a surgical PA in Jersey City, in down, the heart of the hood. And he's luckily seen that it's been a decline, because he's been treating COVID patients. In New Jersey, there's been a very good decline there. New York, there's been a decline. I think if we can just keep going at it, man, I want to get back to work. Yeah. I'm bored not working. Yeah. So you know what? If you need marketing help, call me, because I would love to work. So
we'll be calling you. LifeLit Media will be calling you. You got a guaranteed call from me, because I love you. I love this conversation. We are going to have you back for damn sure. Great. Mike, I want to thank you so much for giving us the insight into this industry. Hopefully everybody else, you don't see it on TV. And I know this week you're like, Eric, our TV sucks. I'm like, yes, you've been stuck for 4 days watching the RNC, which would make me want to vomit by itself. You've got 2 hurricanes, now 1. You've got sports, which even why we've been doing this interview. Major League Baseball is announcing that they might postpone games for the foreseeable future. Like, baseball needed to really...
Because their players can't stay in and not go out to bars.
Right. It's like, really, Major League Baseball, you don't need to boycott any more games. You already did your boycott when you don't like Yankees play the Mets because 2 players can't stay inside. So anyways, right. Mike, I want to thank you so much. Everybody else at home, stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running, and it's for social good, not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at tothepointtv, and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at tothepointtv. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then annoy. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty.